this is what we teach. The reason this is very critical is we coach you on explanation of service, selling system, follow-up, how to extract referrals, how to become people of interest. Now, why did I put person of interest at the end?
Because it takes a while.
Yes, and you're not ready to be a person of interest until you work the whole system. So you and I were talking about this. How much confidence do you have in your business when you're working the selling system? And what happens when you work it?
Yeah, you feel good.
And what kind of increase do you get? Significant. What happens when you don't work it?
You feel terrible about yourself.
Yeah, you feel terrible. You know why? Because you broke a commitment to yourself. Yeah. You told yourself you needed to do this to grow your business. You need to prospect 2 hours a day. You need to work the selling system. You need to generate new leads. And then you come in and you listen to your feelings. Now you didn't do it. Now you have grief. The grief is associated with guilt. What are you grieving?
You're lost.
That's right. Lost potential. Lost opportunity. Because you didn't do what you said you were going to do. Is that one way that breaks your confidence? Yes or no? Yes. When you don't keep commitments to yourself, you lose confidence. And over a period of time, you begin to believe, I'll never do it. I'll never do it. You begin to quit betting on you. You begin to believe it'll fail because you failed so many times in the past. This is really hard. I go to a 9-round in the morning because I love boxing. And I asked the owner of 9-round, how many members do you have? He's had as many as 238. I said, how many of them come every morning? He said, about 30. 30 of the 200 and something actually come and train. Many of them own the membership and never show up. Or they show up one time. Now, how many of them said the night before, I'm going to boxing in the morning? Every morning. How many of them said when they leave, they have 3 times more productivity than if they didn't go? And they still don't go. Now, every day you don't go, now here it's like going, every day you don't go, you give yourself permission not to go back. Yes or no?
Yes.
Every time you break a commitment to yourself, you give yourself permission to break that commitment again. Every time you say you're going to make outbound calls and you don't do it, you give yourself permission tomorrow. Tomorrow, when it's time to make outbound calls, you say, well, I'd rather do something else. Like confidence to me is working the system, right? Like if I work the system, I put my confidence in that system. And I promise you, the system will work if you just work the system. Okay? So think about long obedience in the same direction. Now, when you have this long obedience and you become good, you won't have to make 80 sales calls a day. You can make 10. And you can make the same amount of money making 10 as you made 80 when you become really good. You don't have to have the volume because you're much better at closing people. You got more confidence. You can overcome objection. You can have more fun with it. It's more fluid. You don't have to have all this volume of calling all these people when you're real good. You follow what I'm saying? But if you're not real good, you got to have a lot of volume. Now, I want to go through an exercise with you to help you build this confidence. Because one of the number one places that I see that people do not have confidence is in their explanation of service. So if I were to pull you out of the group and say, come up right now and share your explanation of service with everybody in the room, in front of everybody, unrehearsed, no notes, just you and what you believe. Some of you would be scared to death. Scared of what? Scared of embarrassment? Scared of people laughing at you? Scared of whatever? Do you believe that a lot of your confidence is predicated in being able to explain what you do in a world-class way? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Here's what we believe. Here's why we believe it. Here's what we do as a result of our beliefs. Here's how we do it different than everybody else on planet Earth. Here's the people I'm doing it for. Now, if I could do it for you like I've done it for all these other people, what would stop us from moving forward with each other? Does that make sense? That's an explanation of service. So you hear me lead with beliefs a lot. Like when you're watching me on YouTube or Facebook, I believe everybody needs a coach in life. I believe a good coach can change your life. I believe those that have a coach earn 3 and 4 times the amount of money than those that don't. Because of that belief, here's what I've chosen to devote my life to. Coaching and developing the talent in other people, helping them get into a higher frequency, right? Now I'm doing it for 700 people a month, every month. If I could get them a 43% increase, if I could get you a 43% increase, what would stop us from moving forward with each other? Does that make sense? Then you'll hear me use examples. I got a real estate agent that made $88,000 this month, personally. When many years he never made $80,000 in a whole year. 22 transactions, $88,000 this month. I want that to become his new normal. Does that make sense? He would tell you, I've been his coach for 6 years. That's why he's doing that. He is starting to master some of these concepts. He don't dabble with them. He decides. His confidence is at an all-time high. So for you, I want you to practice right now with the person beside you. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to give them your belief statements. There's 3 things I believe. I believe this, I believe this, I believe this. Then I want you to say, because of my beliefs, here's what I do. This is very important. The number one question you're going to get asked when you meet a person is what? What do you do? What do you do for a living? I can't tell you how many people answer that question wrong. It's a trap. It is a commoditization trap. Like when I'm on planes and I don't want to talk to anybody, when people say, what do you do? You know what I say? Oh, I'm a life coach. You know what they say? Okay. Then they don't want to talk to me. But I'm not really a life coach. I just say that if I don't want to talk to people. You understand what I'm saying? They're like, oh, I'm fine. I'm not screwed up. I don't need anything. Okay, good. We don't have to talk the rest of the plane ride. Now, my point is, if I do want to talk and they say, what do you do? I said, I'm glad you asked that question. Before I tell you what I do, let me tell you what I believe. I believe everybody on the planet needs a good coach in their life. Have you ever had a good coach? And immediately they go, yes or no. If they say yes, I say, well, then you know the growth that you can experience when you have a good coach in your life, don't you? Yes. Well, because of my beliefs, I really coach and develop talent in other people. I really help people get a 40 to 50% increase in a one-year cycle. I take complicated stuff and I make it real simple. I'm currently doing that for about 700 people at a time, right? Now, if I could help you get that kind of increase, would you want to talk about it? And you know what? You know what I know if I've really hit this correctly? You know what they do? They reach in their pocket and hand me their business card. I don't have to give them my business card. They say, will you call me? That's when you know you got a killer EOS. You understand what I'm saying? It's not, hey, can I get your card and call you? They walk up. The number one producer at this company this morning, Guarantee Home Mortgage Corporation, that's who I spoke to this morning. The number one producer, when I got finished, ran out to my table and said, I'm the number one guy in the company, but you can help me. Here's my card. I'm in Birmingham. You call me. That's how I knew I hit it. Does that make sense? If I didn't hit it, I'd be standing out there like this, twiddling my thumbs. Hope somebody buys a book today. My daughter's going to private school. You know what I'm saying? Now, here's my point. So I want you, now this takes confidence right here, guys. This piece right here takes confidence. The confidence piece is, Bob, if I could do this for you, like I have done it for all these other people, what in the world would stop you and I from sitting down and talking about it? Does it take confidence to ask that, yes or no? Sure. Do you know how many people are afraid to make that ask right there? Most people. Okay? If you like what we're talking about, would there be anything that prohibits you from moving forward with me today? Have you seen enough to make a decision? See how direct I am in these questions? I could only do that if I was confident. If I'm not confident, what do I say? Well, let's schedule another meeting. Why don't you think about it a little bit? Why don't you go back and talk to your wife about it? Right? Like confident people ask, if I could do this for you, man, what would stop us from moving forward? Okay? If I could do this for you, what would keep us from, is there anything that prohibits you from doing this? Now, if you think that's a little strong, I have a sweet tea version, okay? Because we live in the South. And it is, out of everything I shared with you, what piqued your interest the most? Out of everything I shared with you about my explanation service, what did you like the most about it? And they'll tell me, I like this part, I like this part, I like this part. Good. Let's unpack that part. Let's unpack that part. Let's talk about that a little bit more. So I have a very good, because I've been coached in EOS, and I practice it every day, and you would never see me do a video without sharing my explanation of service. You would never see me do a video without saying, I believe everybody needs a coach in life, right? Never. That is part of who I am. Every interview I do, every podcast I do, everything. So I want to hear, here's what I'm looking for when you're sharing these things. I want you to see if you feel a conviction. Like, do you believe this or not? Like, are you, right? The first sale you got to make is to your own self. Do you believe what you're telling me?